Hello, and welcome to Dads of Adventure. Today we are going to be discussing a more on the adventure side of the trip. Dads of Adventure is all about having positive life and Disney adventures with your family. And this is going to be one of those life adventures. There's a little bit of Disney involved in it, but uh, this is going to be more of the take advantage of the opportunities that are around you and go have an adventure with it. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that. Before we get started, again, please rate and review us. Add your comments, and if you have a chance to just hit the stars, do those. But comments will help even more. So appreciate the folks that have left ratings so far. If you can leave a review, that's great. That helps us to get to more people. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, DreamsMagicAdventure. If you're listening on the podcast and want to go to the YouTube channel, please do that. And again, it's Dreams Magic Adventure is the YouTube channel, all one word together. And you can also follow us on social media at Dads of Adventure on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then we have recently just started a TikTok account, so we're going to see how that goes. There's like 2 videos on there right now. But any support that you can provide there is great as well. So find us there. Also, definitely go to dadsofadventure.com where you can sign up for the newsletter. That way you can get direct information about things that are going on. And, with that, we have a membership site as well. And part of the membership site is going towards just kind of the educational piece, and I believe that we can all learn more, including me, about everything that we're doing. So this kind of goes along with the having that positive, life experience, Disney experience with your families. Just videos that kind of help with points that may be normal frustration points within the parks and within your trip, and helping you think about those ahead of time so that you can plan for those and help start your trip off on a positive note. When sometimes just getting to the gate may be a struggle, but you can look at these things that are happening, plan for them, be ready for them, and then you can have a more positive experience with your family as well. So that's half of it, and then the other half is what I'm super excited about is discussion among like-minded, positive thinking dads that are leading their families, and talking about that and talking about those experiences. People speak a lot of specific languages. Some people are great at speaking about sports. That's not necessarily me, but I'm great at speaking Disney, and that's a common language that we can use to talk about not just Disney, but other things in life as well. But that's a starting point for it. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you like-minded dads who may be listening here. So come check it out, join, and we'd love to see you there. And look forward to talking with you. All right, so getting into today's episode, we had the opportunity. We had been talking a long time about checking out if there may be some launches that were going on at Cape Canaveral, and trying to go see one of those because SpaceX and Boeing were both putting together launch vehicles, and are testing those, and sending up launches every so often over at Cape Canaveral. So it's an exciting time that space travel is continuing, and those development of those, and we just wanted to we just thought it'd be a great experience for us and our boys to go see something like that, and so there was once we finally got a chance. We're like, okay, let me see when the next one is, and we'll see if we can go do it. It was like a few days away, and I'm like, wait a minute, this one is the one where they're actually sending people up into space. So it was the first time in like 9 years that they were sending up people from U.S. soil. And this will be in the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule with the Falcon 9 rocket that's been under development for a number of years now. And, they're, again, so this was a historic moment. I didn't realize that was coming up, but, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, we have to go to this now. So, we arranged our schedule around that. We were trying to think of where to go because, just to give you some context to this, depending on when you may be listening to this, at that time, so it was like there's a lot of stuff going on with the COVID-19 virus. So there were a lot of places that were not open yet. So a lot of parking in, the Cape Canaveral, Port Canaveral area was, around like the cruise ports. All of those parking lots were going to be closed because, the ports, the cruise ports weren't operating, and I don't know if they have those open normally anyway, because this was my first, attempt at this. And then there's a park at the end of Port Canaveral, and that was going to only be for like annual pass holders and only at 50% capacity. So really the only areas to park were like a small boat launch area, which maybe, was like 50 cars, and, where you could find spots along the roads that are coming into Port Canaveral. There's a number of places along the river and waterways there that you can pull off. Where people normally go fishing, and there's a little bit of beach there along the road. So some of those were available as well, and then like some various parallel spots that were available. But other than that, there was a restaurant area in Port Canaveral that was, I believe it's called the Cove, that was the only other, parking area. So, since we were not going to be able to like spend all day there, and we wanted to have some access to bathrooms too, I kind of tried to plan around that. So, we were coming in late to this, just a few days beforehand, and just trying to figure it out. So literally the day before, the original, launch date, I was calling all the restaurants around there to see if they took reservations. And there were only a couple that were actually taking reservations. Most were taking, people that were walking up. And one was already like closed for the day because there were less hours and this whole thing. Again, there's a lot of things going on with that. And I forgot to mention the Kennedy Space Center was also closed. So like it was going to be closed on launch day, and literally like the next day is when it was reopening. So all of Kennedy Space Center, any of the launch areas that could be reserved, all of that was closed. I believe there was also one of the beaches was also closed. So there's just some limiting factors in terms of space. And no pun intended, but that's a great dad joke. Anyway, but there's some limiting factors there in terms of space. So I called one restaurant. They were closed. They're like, hey, can you give me a call back if you have space? We'd love to make a reservation. If I don't know if you're doing them, but hey, here's my number. We're interested. We have 4 people. So I really didn't think that we were going to have that. I thought maybe, we'll just have to head there and see what happens, which would have been fine. That's an adventure in itself. But, that next day they did call me back, and they said they had some cancellations and we got a table. So I was like, okay, we're all set. So we allowed what we thought was plenty of time to get over there. We're, a few hours away from Cape Canaveral. So we planned, we got in the car, headed off, in that direction. We encountered several, areas of traffic, some that were related to the launch because everybody was really excited about this being the first launch in 9 years from U.S. soil of actual actual astronauts, and so we encountered some of that. There was an accident along the way, and our time kept going up a little bit. So where we ended up was we got to like one of the bridges that was heading, and I think it was like the second to last bridge, and that's when we found out due to weather that it was about to launch. So like we were gonna miss our reservation, but we were in a decent place to see it. So that's one thing about it, is like wherever we ended up, we would be able to see it, even driving in. But we right as we were coming in, we found out they had delayed the launch because of weather, and while it cleared up afterward, at the time that they delayed it, there was definitely a lot of iffy weather in the area. So there's tons of people, and everybody got back on the road. So we had a nice few hours in the car together. We eventually got to Port Canaveral and enjoyed some food there on a balcony that looks over the and here's one of the small Disney parks that looks over the where the cruise ships come through. So Disney Cruise Line, the terminal is across the way there. So we got to watch sunsets over the Disney Cruise Line terminal. I have some pictures. You can't really tell it's the Disney Cruise Line terminal, but it is. So there at Port Canaveral. So previous to that, we had seen some of those ships there were 3 ships in port together, where we had come down at one point to see those. So check that out on our YouTube channel. And I put that on TikTok as well. So that was pretty cool, but that was separate from this trip. There were no cruise ships in port. So while that was launch, again, we got to have some good food. We saw those great sunset views along the water there next to Port Canaveral. And so that was an adventure in itself. And they had delayed the launch. They had a couple windows. The next one was going to be Saturday at like 3:22 p.m., I think. And so we were trying to think, okay, are we going back? Now, I really wanted to, and we definitely, wanted to experience it. But there was all of the traffic, and we had family that was coming in too, because our son was doing a car ride line through graduation. If you're listening to this later, you'll probably think back and laugh on that, but that was what was going on right now. And that was so we weren't sure if we were going to go, but just in case, like the day before, and again, we're coming into this late. The Space Center did open, so it was going to be open for that. There were some areas that they still did not have tickets for, like launch areas that they normally have, because of the nature of, I think that mentioned on the website, because of the nature of the launch. Don't know all the details there, but those tickets were sold out pretty quickly, and they might have already been sold out, because it was the first, one of the first days that and weekends that the Space Center was going to be open. So Space Center was out. Called that restaurant again. Called it after it was already closed the previous day, and found out the day before, the launch, that they had a reservation for us. This time we had 6 people. So I didn't know, but they had 1 table left. They said, "We got our last table," and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment here, on how nice that was to have that last table. But so given giving some further context to this, before the first time I had had my boys watch like some shuttle launches on YouTube, so they would understand like what we're doing. Their first question, which was awesome, the best question ever, was, "Can we ride that?" Meaning the rocket. And I was like, "No, but that is awesome that you asked that." And so giving them some context, they were excited about the launch. They, when on Wednesday, on the Wednesday when we couldn't do that, they were like, "Oh, why is it not, going?" And we had to explain. But we worked it out, and we had that reservation, and so we were set to go back. So we had the graduation that day, came right back to our house, got everything, pre-ordered some sandwiches for breakfast brunch along the way at Wawa. Thank you, Wawa, for some great breakfast. And we had a bathroom stop planned along the way, right before getting into the Disney area here. And because just so you know, if you're ever taking this trip, the area between like Orlando and Cape Canaveral, on the toll roads there's not a lot of bathroom stops. Literally, we saw some folks there. There's construction along there right now as I'm filming this episode. But the some folks, there were like porta pots that were there for the construction side of things, and folks were literally stopping there, which I don't blame them, because it's a long stretch without a bathroom. And that was one of the reasons we wanted to have the restaurant again, because we wanted to have access to bathrooms and things like that for little kids and myself as well. But anyway, so we were again set to go on this Saturday, and kind of in between the first launch and the second launch, I found a documentary that was on Disney Plus. So there's our other little Disney piece there. It was a National Geographic one. I can't remember the exact name to it, but it talks about like it has something about Mars in the title. I'm sure it's in the popular section if you go on Disney Plus, and it's about SpaceX. So I think in the title, if you look up Mars or SpaceX, you'll find it pretty easily there. But that was a great thing to watch beforehand, because I hadn't really had I love all of that all of that is going on, but I hadn't really had a chance to follow it, even over the last few years. And it gave a great summary of the purpose behind it, and just the goals, and the fact that the rockets were being tested and built to the challenges that they had to face to get to the point where we are. So it made you appreciate things even more, that this was happening, and that Elon Musk took the chance that he did, in funding this and building this company. So it's really cool. Goes all the way up to the launch of the Falcon Heavy, which is launch vehicle that is able to carry larger payloads, for the actual launch that we were going to be the prior rocket, which would be the Falcon 9. But it was amazing what they were able to do. They're designing these things to be able to come reusable, so that it's renewable and can be used for future space travel, because it'll bring the cost of space travel down, because they use the concept and metaphor a few times in the documentary. But if you take a plane across the country, and then you throw away the plane, air taking a flight on an airline would be much more expensive because you're not reusing the plane. So that was the idea behind everything that they were doing. So the fact that they were able to take a rocket and have it land on a small pad, and back in the ocean, that's just extraordinary. So that was their goal. Again, watch the documentary. Especially if you're about to watch a launch on TV or even in person, it will definitely bring you up to speed on where things are, at least mostly. And then so again, getting back to that launch, Saturday was reset, and this is the first chance for it to do. The weather was iffy again. There was about a 50-50 chance of launch due to the weather. It was interesting because Florida weather is very chancy, especially as you get into the summer months. It's probably going to rain at some point, or there's probably going to be a cloud somewhere. It's going to rain somewhere, somehow, many of the days in the summer. So as we were coming through, we're like, oh, this is great weather. Oh, yeah, this might be a challenge. Oh, it's good again. So just in our short, in general, short drive, that was the case. We're slightly worried about getting, we left hopefully in plenty of time, but, we were slightly worried about, the traffic and everything, because now it was Saturday and everybody, a good portion of more people had the opportunity to potentially come to this launch. So we came through. Traffic was much better. I think part of what the traffic was last time was that we, once the launch was canceled, then everybody was on the road trying to get somewhere. But as we came in, traffic was slow. We had some slowdowns, but for the most part, we got there in time for our reservation. It was right before the launch, about 30 to 45 minutes before the launch. Got seated there, and when we got to the restaurant, which I highly recommend it. It's Seafood Atlantic. I'll go ahead and say it. Highly recommend the restaurant. Food was awesome. People were awesome. Their setup, they had to be at a certain lower capacity. It's a smaller, restaurant to begin with, but they had to be at a lower capacity because of everything that was going on with the COVID-19 virus. So there were maybe, I want to say like 10 tables available. So I realized how blessed we were to get a table, especially with 6 people. So that was awesome. So it was a huge sigh of relief when we were able to pull in, and they had parking spots coned off there, so we were able to pull into our reserved parking spot right in front of the restaurant, and it was just a huge relief. And came in, got set up at the table and everything, and they had a whole back patio where you could go see the launch, and there were like 2 towers across the way, because across the way is like a there's like a shipping area, and cargo ships and some other kind of industrial looking stuff. So there's like 2 towers that we're looking between, and like that's where the launch will be. So we got a great area, front row seats, because there was a big area to sit there. They even brought out benches for people that wanted to sit, so that was even more awesome. And before I talk about the launch some more, I did want to mention that this seafood was great. They have a seafood shop, like where they're bringing in fresh seafood, and then that goes on your plate after they cook it. So just wanted to mention that in case you are interested in a great restaurant there. There's a number of restaurants along there, but that was a great experience. So we utilized our designated bathrooms um, to make sure we didn't need to go during the launch. Got ready for that, and then we found our spot, and it was and so I didn't really know what to expect. So I'll say this: the rocket, when it started going, like, everybody was so excited. It was so cool to just be a part of that joint experience of being excited about going into space, and first time from U.S. soil in 9 years. And you could tell, like, just in general, like, every people in Port Canaveral were excited about this. Because it's bringing a new opportunity into that area, and so we were out there, and it's like everybody was counting down. It was like 3, 2, 1, and then the rocket launched, and it was smaller than I expected, but it was still one of the most awesome experiences, because you could see, like, the flare of the rocket as it was heading up. And again, this was the Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon capsule on top, and the you could see it going up. So you were watching it, and we took some video of that. I had a couple different devices there to take video, and one of the things that I think is important to note is, especially for all you other dads who are like me, who are like, I want to capture that moment so I can see it later too. It was nearly impossible to actually see the video screen because of the sun and how bright it was outside. So I just kind of like pointed it at that, and then I watched the actual rocket. Still got to go look and see what type of video I got. But I guess that was a lesson in, one, either bring a tripod with you so you don't have to hold it, or just enjoy the moment for what it is. But I will, it was great. You saw, like, the plumes of smoke coming up across the way, and and then you saw it head into the clouds. And it took a moment for the sound to hit the area, but when everybody else was kind of dissipating after they saw the launch, I stayed there and listened to the sound, because the sound was just something I had never heard before. So that was really cool to hear the sound that it made as it was heading up into space. And I didn't get a chance to follow the subsequent events, but they were successful in docking with the space station. It was set. One of the things for the Crew Dragon is that it is able to, it has automatic docking features. That can be manually overridden if it needs to be, but does have the automatic docking, and they were successful in their mission and everything. So that, I know that summarizes a lot of great things and great accomplishments in a very short time. But I can't recommend that enough to do that. I am looking forward to, at some point, going to maybe seeing that from a few different perspectives as future launches come up here. But it's just a kind of proud moment for the ingenuity and science that goes behind it, the just determination to make something happen that they didn't really know how they were going to do before they started. So I think that's an important lesson in life, beyond the rock, the rocket itself and the launch is that they believed that they could figure out how to do it. They didn't know how they were going to do it. They didn't know the steps they had to take because this was something new that had never really been done before. And so that was, again, watch the documentary on Disney Plus. That'll give more context to it, but it's just amazing that was there, and there were so many people out there to enjoy that. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing launches from multiple perspectives, in the future. Definitely will try to attend some more. Love to get over to the Space Center again. The last time I went to the Space Center was in 2000 on subsequently another, my second family Disney trip. I was a teenager there. And so I'll talk about that in another episode, but the gist of it is that, it's just, again, a great experience. Definitely recommend it. It was something where we had to like seize the moment and like, okay, let's go, let's go do this. And we did it. Not knowing if we could do it. We just did a little research, didn't have much to go on. And we're like, okay, we're going to head there. Hopefully we get to this restaurant reservation in time. But if we don't, we'll probably be somewhere where we can see what's going on. So we didn't worry too much about getting there fully. But that was our experience. Hope you get a chance to experience something like that, or whatever it is that is an adventure to you. It's like heading to the mountain, because it's a nice day to do so, or just taking whatever time is available and or even like making time to have an adventure. That's what it's all about. The boys loved it. They had their binoculars and were watching. As I don't know if they were actually pointed in the right direction, but they loved it anyway. So that was, just a cool experience, I'll say. So I'll wrap things up here because I think I'm rambling at the moment. But, again, please, comment and review us on your favorite podcast app. Join and subscribe to us on YouTube at DreamsMagicAdventure. And then at Dads of Adventure on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and now on TikTok. So, again, go to dadsofadventure.com to join the newsletter and also join and be a part of the membership. So that is all I have for today. So with that, go have an adventure with your family.